Hey everybody, so today, thank you for joining by the way. Today I am going to be roasting a duck, and so because I'm going to roast it, I figured I would truss the duck and roast it nicely trussed up. So I figured why not shoot an episode. My dog's pretty quiet right now, just came back from daycare and she's passed out next to me here. So it's a little bit quiet in the kitchen, so I figured I'd show you how to do that. There's plenty of different ways and probably thousands of videos on YouTube and or Google methods of how to truss and chicken. Duck and chicken pretty much the same thing in terms of anatomy, so it's going to work the same way. So like I said, plenty. Look through all of them, practice, see what works for you, and see what's easy for you. I'm going to show you a couple of small variations. Typically around this little, neck here and what to do with this guy, right? On the duck, it's pretty sort of apparent. And some chickens, when you get them, they will have it. Others, they tend to chop them off sometimes. So I'll show you a couple of different ways to do this. But the whole idea of trussing is that you're bringing the whole chicken or bird together so that it cooks evenly, right? What I found, it doesn't quite work as well for me, and maybe that's just because, is that the insides of the thighs, right, because they're squished together against the body of the chicken, don't tend to cook as enough by the time the breasts and the thighs are done. So they'll be a little bit undercooked. So either you need to cook it longer, but then you risk drying out the breasts, and there's probably ways to get around this. The way that I found to get around it is I spatchcock the chicken and I cook it sort of on a rack in the oven, and it cooks pretty quickly within probably about 30 minutes. I put it at 325, sometimes 350, but 325 is a good number. Roast. Watch the baking and roasting ovens episode to understand the difference between baking and roasting. So I found that works really well. It crisps the chicken and it cooks the bird well, but it retains all of its moisture. So that's my preferred method, but I'm not going to do that with duck. I'm going to try and put it together, truss it, and roast it, and see what happens. So wish me luck. So I figured I'd show you a video. I'm going to show you a couple small variations. And then on another episode, I'll show you how to spatchcock this chicken and roast it. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to pause, zoom the camera in, and come back to you in just a minute. All right, we're back. So what I'm going to do is I want to stuff this thing first, right? So I'm going to take some lemons and just kind of put them in the cavity. And there is debate about whether you should put lemons in the cavity or not, mostly because, and I'm going to I just crushed some garlic just by hand. I'm just going to stuff it in. Mostly because the acid might dry out. The acid might dry out the chicken. I don't know, play with it and see, all right? Okay, so really important, kitchen twine, right? So it usually comes in a roll, so I would just basically pull a really long piece off and cut it in half, or just cut it, and then just take it and get to basically the middle point. I know you can't see this, but I'm kind of got my twine and just figuring out where the center point is. Okay, so I'm gonna lay it right in front of me here. Now, what you want is the legs to be facing you and the legs to be facing up, all right? So, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your chicken, you're gonna take your twine and sort of run it underneath the chicken here. Then, take your wings and tuck them nice and tight underneath, okay? So run the twine right there, basically about halfway under the wings, bring it over and cross it, okay? So now we've crossed it. So a couple of variations. So you can either go from here and basically go under the drumsticks, right? Just like that, and wrap it around one more time around the tip of the drumstick, right? Cross over again and basically pull it tight, right? And if you do that, it basically looks like this, right? Run it underneath again, and then bring it up to the top and tie it up, okay? There you go. That's your basic method of trussing a chicken. However, what's going to happen is you've got this little piece here, the neck. It's sort of flapping and it's leaving an open cavity. What we want to do is kind of close this up as much as possible. Now you could just try and run the neck sort of under all that twine and just try and close it up, which, you know, might work okay. But let me show you a small variant of this to do this. There are also some videos around to make carving the chicken easier once you've roasted it, is to take out the wishbone. And I forgot to do that, so let me do that right now. So we are going to use a paring knife. And the wishbone is going to be sitting right back here. And it looks like a little triangle. So it's basically a bone, cartilage of the bone holding this, holding the sort of the two pieces, and it looks like a little triangle. So what you want to do is go back here, look for where that is, and just start carving down. And I hope I can actually find it to pull this down. Let's see, just cut just like in a triangle shape, and then go fish it out with your hand. Oh, yeah, I see it, I feel it. There it is, and pull it out. So this is what the wishbone looks like, right? Typically in the chicken, there's a little bit more cartilage at the top. What that's going to do is it's going to help you carve the birds once it's roasted. Now, when I did the breaking down of the chicken, I should have taken out the wishbone. I didn't. So hopefully this will, you know, motivate you guys to watch the entire episode. And to watch all the episodes. Okay, so the other variant, right, is, again, so take your twine, make sure it's even on both sides. I'm gonna move this out of my way. All right, cross it over. Now, instead of going under the drumsticks, what we wanna do is take, so you've got your twine up here, go around the neck and back, and then the other side as well, go around the neck from the top, down and over, okay? And pull it tight, okay? Well, and I didn't do that, didn't do a very good job with that. What you want to do is make sure that when you run it around, that you've got it pulled nice and tight so that your chicken wings are held nice and tight, okay? So you've got that, so it's basically coming over here, right? Here it is. So it's basically gonna stay. What you can do is you can also like just go around it again. But now you're back here again. So what I would do, actually I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so you've tied it. So now what I would do is cross it again and basically run it underneath it again. And this time, go over and under your chicken drumsticks and pull them tight and close, okay? You can run it again, sort of underneath here, right? And then just tie it right at the top. So if you've got a neck, this is kind of what you do. Or at least this is the way I do it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that say, this is not the correct way. And, you know, the French don't do it this way. But you know what? Whatever. You know what? Check this out. It's holding, right? So the only downside with duck is that you've got this big piece of flesh here, this big piece of skin that unfortunately you need to kind of keep closed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of twine and just kind of wrap that around just to hold it in place because I don't want it to flap open. But we could do that. And I'm sure there's probably plenty of videos that show you how to do this correctly. But I'm hoping that this was, you know, informative and a way to do it, but there's, again, this isn't, there's plenty of videos that can show you how to do this. Mine is not necessarily the absolute best one, but I figured why not do an episode since I'm doing this anyway. And for those who are, because this guy is sort of flat this way, what I'm going to do, and you can kind of go crazy with this, right? I'm going to flip this back over. I'm going to run this twine across the length of the bird, right? Just so I can hold that flap down. And this will hopefully keep it in place. Yep, wait. My chicken twine is a little too long in order for me to hold it. Run that over, cross over, pull it through, and tie it up. Okay, that's it. And, you can just tuck this in, doesn't matter. Chicken twine is not harmful in any way, shape, or form, and this keeps the skin sort of intact here and keeps it from flopping around. All right, that's it. Here is your bird. So I know it's a little bit cumbersome and it's kind of difficult to see a little bit with the camera angle, but hopefully this works. Thanks, and see you soon.